So we are going to talk about the Paulie Malignaggi stuff. I didn't want to lead with it. I kind of buried it in some part to do that because it is a little bit of a sideshow at this point in time, and we are going to talk about whether or not he should be broadcasting this fight. I know TJ has some strong opinions on it. I have sort of softened my stance a little bit after doing some investigative work today, but I want to read Dana White's comments. I read them on bloodyelbow.com this morning about releasing the footage. Because I think when you hear Dana's rationale for doing so, you understand it, at least from my vantage point. Come on, it's footage of the actual sparring. I was there for all 12 rounds. I felt sorry for the guy. It was a one-way beating. A lot of people said Conor couldn't box. Paulie was obviously lying about everything that he said about the sparring match, so I released it. It was very one-sided. It was an absolute beating. Guess what? I think it was the right thing for Paulie Malignaggi to definitely leave for his health's sake. He went on to say, I got no problem releasing the full tape. Problem is, of course, right now, Conor doesn't want Mayweather to see everything that he's doing, everything he is working on. All right, going to circle back to Malignaggi here before we get out of here. So, Kenny, I don't know if you follow me on Twitter. I think you do, but I threw out today that there are no betting odds out there yet for a fight between Conor McGregor and Paulie Malignaggi, okay?
Right.
I would imagine that if Conor loses to Floyd, that he would maybe be a betting underdog to Paulie Malignaggi, right? Obviously, if he were to beat Floyd Mayweather, I would be very surprised if he would be a betting underdog to Paulie Malignaggi, right? But somebody just sent me a direct message, and they said, I think we have a sports book willing to post Malignaggi versus McGregor odds.
Oh, wow.
Now, if this fight was posted, right? I mean, I am a full-fledged degenerate here, guilty as charged. But if this fight was to be put on the board by a sports book and Conor McGregor was at plus money, it doesn't have to do with the sparring footage, right? Or whatever else is out there. I understand Paulie Malignaggi was getting off a plane. I know he wasn't in great shape and everything else. And I'm just telling you, Ken Flo, that if a sports book throws that out there and I see Conor McGregor at like plus 200 against Paulie Malignaggi,
take it.
I might have to unload.
You're taking it for sure. You know what I would have asked Adam Hill? I would have asked him, does he have a better chance than Holly Holm against Ronda Rousey? Does he have a better chance than the United States against Russia in the Olympics back when they were played hockey? Do they have a better chance? Does he have a better chance than when Buster Douglas was going to fight Mike Tyson? These things happen. It does happen. It's possible.
Yeah, man. Oh, all right. So I read you the comments from UFC President Dana White as to why he released the footage, and ultimately the impetus for him doing that was because he felt that what Paulie Malignaggi was saying was grossly disingenuous, right? So the footage is what it is, Kenny. I know Paulie actually took exception to a tweet of yours over the weekend suggesting that it was not a push and indeed it was a punch that knocked him to the canvas.
Yeah, listen, I thought that he ate a couple shots before that. It looked like he was stumbling. To me, was he off balance? Absolutely. He was off balance prior to that. I feel like, when he was talking about the situation, it felt like, Conor put both of his hands on his chest and pushed him down to the canvas. It was kind of the explanation that he was kind of going through. But, I mean, he was off balance. He was trying to avoid the shots of Conor. Someone saying, like, he was cuffing him and he pushed him down. What is Paulie Malignaggi, like 75 pounds? What is Conor, some like behemoth Hulk that like just drove him down to the ground with that like shot in the back of the neck? I think it was part Malignaggi off balance. It was Malignaggi kind of getting clipped a little bit, not with a big shot, and it was a little bit of the heavy hand on the back of the head. But that's not enough. I mean, if I push down on the back of your head, John Anik, you weigh way less than me. Are you just going to fall down? That's not the way it works. He was off balance, trying to avoid the shots. He was getting hit prior to that. I saw some video of some genius saying, these are two separate clips that Dana White put out. Yeah, he put out two separate clips. They weren't clipped together. People are saying that they edited this footage together. It's a little bit silly, but yeah. And the footage, I do believe the footage is going to come out after this fight. They said they are going to release all 12 rounds. And from what I'm hearing from various sides, by the way, not just from the UFC and the McGregor camp, is that, yeah, Conor did dominate both sessions. So As a fighter, I think we're very prideful people. We don't want to believe that, we lost a certain round or we lost a certain fight. The other thing is, listen, Paulie hasn't been fighting for a long time. When boxers don't have a fight coming up, they're not doing anything. I'm sure Paulie's enjoying life, and I'm sure Paulie had his moments and all that stuff, and I'm sure Paulie would do significantly better if he was in an actual training camp. He's not.
Right.
He's doing other things. So, yeah.
Yeah, doing other things. He's calling the fight in 11 days,
Yes.
and I know we wondered last week on the show as to whether or not this was the right decision for him to be a part of this broadcast, given now how infused he is in this fight and with everything that happened with Conor McGregor. Excuse me. Now, there is some precedent, Kenny. I guess he's been working for Showtime Championship Boxing for years. He has called fights involving people that I'm sure he has spoken ill of for career purposes as a competitor and otherwise, right? So it's not as though it's completely new territory for Paulie Malignaggi, but I do think it's sensitive, and that's why TJ DeSantis and other people think it's absolute lunacy that he's being given a hot mic for this fight.
Yeah, it's a little awkward. It is awkward, right? Because obviously there's going to be a major bias, right? With everything that has happened. He's been very vocal about the situation. At the same time, he's also a guy who has an excellent boxing mind. He really knows the boxing game. Having sparred with Conor, hopefully he can give some, realistic perceptions on what he thinks his chances are, or where he can maybe confuse Floyd Mayweather a little bit. He's a guy who's been doing it for a little while. So I think on that, separate from the Conor situation, he's the best guy for the job. You hear Paul Malignaggi talk about the boxing game. He knows it inside and out. So in that regard, he's an excellent guy for the job. But given the kind of recent bias and the history between him and Conor, I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense.
I would agree with you, though. I do think he is among the best men for the job, and think he adds a tremendous amount. I love listening to him analyze boxing, but when you're talking about the integrity of the broadcast,
right.
Some, Kenny, are saying that a lot of what he said after the sparring session might have even been concussion speak. Now, some people, Angelo Reyes, a boxing trainer, and others have said that's ridiculous. He saw Malignaggi a few days later. But some people are saying that's concussion talk, and now so that's going to be brought to the broadcast potential. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
How much is he going to reference what happened in that sparring session? Hopefully they can keep that to a minimum and just use that as sort of a vehicle to assess Conor and not, bring it back to that, as we've tried not to completely do on this show today,
I agree. I 100% agree.
All right. Final thing out of you today. So Meraki BJJ, I keep messing that up. So grand opening. Shout out the details to any of our listeners. There's nothing, if you go in and say, hey, I listen to the Anik and Florian podcast, that doesn't do very much for you at Meraki BJJ.
No, listen, anyone who is interested in training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who wants to come and check out Meraki Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they're more than welcome. We have a very interesting philosophy. We try to make it a very nice environment, a beautiful environment to train where you can be inspired. You're going to get world-class instruction. My business partner, Jason Hunt, is just one of the best instructors out there. He's been teaching at Homola Bahal School in Northridge for like 6 or 7 years. And Homola, for anyone who knows in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu community, one of the greatest of all time. So Jason is extremely knowledgeable, phenomenal instructor who's been around the game for a while. We just invite anyone to come over. We're at 11677 Santa Monica Boulevard in Brentwood. We are on Santa Monica and Barrington. Come check us out. We're going to be there from 10 to 1, 10 to 10:30. If you have no Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experience and you want to learn and just try a free class, come on out. Come try it out. See what you think. Check out our facility, and that's it. Everyone's welcome.
Love it. We would expect nothing less.
Thank you,
out of Ken Flo. Meraki BJJ on Instagram. You can Google it. It's Meraki. Meraki BJJ. Check him out. All right. Thank you to our guests today, Al Bernstein, Adam Hill. To Javier Vasquez, we're pulling for you, buddy. Again, GoFundMe page is out there, and TJ DeSantis pulling together for a 24-hour radiothon on behalf of Javi. That's coming up in about 10 days from now on the eve of the big one, Mayweather McGregor. Matt Hughes, love the update, man. Keep plugging away as your recovery continues. Love to hear it. Next week, of course, for us, for everyone, fight week for the money fight. More analysis. We will be joined by our good friend Brendan Schaub. He'll be part of Showtime Championship Boxing's coverage on August 26th. Also get predictions for Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Kenny, do you have any money down on this fight right now?
I don't, but I'm very tempted. Listen, as much as I think Mayweather obviously is one of the best of all time, and certainly, we'll talk about it later. But I do think Conor. I mean, it's a very, very enticing bet. So I'll be in Vegas. I'll be in Vegas the week of the fight. So who knows? Is there anything that prevents me from betting on the fight?
I wouldn't think so, Ken Flo. Come on.
I don't bet on fights, John. You know how I don't bet on fights, but who knows?
Well,
maybe.
Everyone knows I already have Conor at 44-1 in round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4. 4 separate wagers, $100 a piece. Returns $4,400 if he knocks him out in one of those 4 rounds. Or as my twin brother likes to say, those bets return $0, but we shall see.